Hello, what's going on everyone? We have the TFT snapshot for the PBE patch on set 8. These are just going to be some comps that I think you guys should try and kind of like get a feel for before the actual set comes out on December 7th. So we have 8 team compositions. It was set 8, so I had to do the same number that I think you guys would be quite interested in. So first one is Talon Reroll. Next one is Duelist Reroll, then Threats, then Camille Reroll, then Vayne, then Soraka Admin, then Gangplank, then Zoe. Lots of rerolls, as you guys can see already, but do keep in mind that on the PBE server, they're going to be making a lot of patches to kind of adjust the game before they actually release a set. So if you want announcements on that, go to my Discord at discord.gg/BunnyMuffins, and then scroll down until you see official updates on the left here. And then this is pretty much where they put in all the updates there, so you guys can check that out in your free time if you are like following super closely. But let's get right into how to play the comps, starting with Talon Reroll. But before we do that, just a quick word from our sponsor. I don't like missing out on things, so I don't want you to miss out either. If you've never heard of Macarena before, it's a PvP shooter for mobile and PC, which you could also play on your controller. So in the new TFT set, we have Mecha Primes, but in Macarena, you can pilot those exact mechs and blow each other up. What's even cooler right now is that Brazilian soccer superstar Neymar Jr. is in the game as a special limited edition mech pilot, and he's totally free to get. Coincidentally, he's also the strongest pilot in the game right now. He boosts your damage, and he's the only pilot in the game right now with a special perk. He lets your mech sprint more often and lets him sprint for longer. If you've played Macarena before, I'd love to know which mech you like using him on the most. But if you're new to the game, he is free right now if you just play on 7 different days between now and December 18th. On top of that, there's a special cup happening right now where we can celebrate the worldwide soccer event, and you can get an extra special pilot, MVP Neymar Jr., as part of the celebrations. He's only available during the special event right now, and to get your hands on him, you just have to take part in the special derby event that's live right now that ends on December 18th. Since you're fielding multiple mechs at a time, you always need a different pilot for each of your mechs, and these two are going to be the strongest. If that's not enough to get you excited about Macarena, if you install it right now on mobile or PC using my personal link or this QR code, you get a free starter pack worth around $15, which includes an amateur crate, 300 A coins, and a pulse cannon 4 to help kickstart your game. If you're quick enough, you could add me in the game as well. Here's my ID. I've been playing Macarena for a couple months now, and having 2 extraordinarily good pilots helps me out a lot more than the regular ones you can get. So again, use the link or the QR code, but for now, back to the video. So Talon, he's going to be a Renegade Ox Force. We're going to complement him with a couple other 1-cost units and 2-cost units because we are rerolling, so we're going to get a lot of 3 stars. So right now, I think Silas, Renekton, and Blitzcrank all complement him really well, followed by Camille and Fiora. This gives him 3 Renegade, 2 Admin, 2 Brawler, and 2 Ox Force. And you may have noticed already, Talon uses ability power items. So in this set, he is an AP carry. He applies the bleed on people, and you enhance that with ability power, not attack damage. So how to play the comp? So just like any 1-cost reroll, and I'm going to be coming out with a leveling guide sometime at the start of this set, you want to reroll for those champions at level 5. So the reason why you want to do that is because it gives you the best balance between having a lot of gold and good odds at hitting the champion based on your level. So you just go to level 5. You could roll at level 4 on stage 3-1, that is right after the Krugs, but I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you have 6 or more copies of Talon. So if you have less than that, just wait till the next level and start slow rolling at level 5, and you just roll down to 50 gold every single turn until you hit your Talon 3. After that, you can power level up a bit, add in other units, maybe even go into deeper levels and add in more expensive units if you didn't get the other guys 3-starred, but a lot of other things to do from there. For items, AP items great for Talon and Edge of Night. Since he's a melee carry, it's good to reset aggros. So on my stream on twitch.tv/BunnyMuffinsLOL, I did mention that a lot of the melee carries in this set are going to struggle because there's not like an assassin trait. There aren't really ways to protect them. But when we last saw this situation, which was in set 4 with Yone and Fiora Duelist carry, we used an item called Quicksilver, which still exists in this game, but Edge of Night is a new item that did not exist back in that day, and it accomplishes a very similar goal. So Quicksilver or Edge of Night, expect those items to be built a lot more this set because there are a ton of melee carries without the assassin trait that you kind of need to protect. So onto the next build, we have Yasuo and Fiora reroll. This comp is a little bit different since it's a 2-cost reroll instead of a 1-cost reroll. In the final team comp, we're going to have 4 Duelists, 2 Aegis, and 2 Ox Force, and then we're going to do a Fiora Yasuo duo carry. in order to protect them, we're going to second row them. So Fiora and Yasuo in the second row behind 2 respective tanks. And Vi is very important because she also reduces their armor, so it's really nice to have the Fiora next to the Vi. Pretty much in this comp, we're just playing all the cheap duelists, so that's why you see stuff like Gangplank and Kale here. For items, Yasuo we're going to do AP, and Fiora we're going to do AD. So they changed Jewel Gauntlet and Infinity Edge. They're essentially the same item, except one gives AP, one gives AD. So just mix and match those however you please. But this is just going to be played like any standard 2-cost reroll comp. You're going to reroll at level 6 instead of level 5. Because level 6 gives the best balance of good roll odds plus good economy to roll for it. And then you pretty much put all your AP items on Yasuo and all AD on Fiora. For more specific items, we could look down here, and we like healing items on Fiora because she just kind of is a sustain bot, and with that in mind, we also want Titan's Resolve because she's going to build up all the stacks, and then just one damage item to kind of finish it off there. AP items for Yasuo, it's just going to be any generic AP, Rabadons, Jeweled Gauntlet, Archangels. It's the usual suspects. I mean, these are pretty much the 3 trifectas of AP items, right? And then we add in one semi-healing item with Hand of Justice, and then Edge of Night for survival, because again, as we talked about before, lots of melee carries this set. We want them all to live. For like specific hero augments, Edgelord is going to be better than Oxygen Rage for Talon reroll, unless they change it sometime in the future. On to the next build, we have Threats. So Threats is really fun. They don't actually give any synergies, but you can just play as many as you want. You don't have to play 7 Threats. You could play like, let's say you have 5 Threats that you 2-starred, but you have like a lot of tanks in those. You have like Rammus and Zac and things like that. Maybe the support units such as Vel'Koz. You could play 2 synergized carries in the back with like the Threats as a tank, or do the opposite. Let's say you have Threats as a damage dealer such as Bel'Veth or Aurelion Soul, and then you could put a bunch of random tanks up front. So maybe you want to put 2 defenders up front or like 2 brawlers up front. Lots of different options you could try here. But right now for like a 7 threat comp, it's kind of fun. Bel'Veth is going to be the main AD carry. Aurelion Soul is going to be the AP carry, but you could do all sorts of different things. You don't have to play both of them because they're threats. It's a lot of different options available. You could play Bel'Veth without the A-Soul. You could play A-Soul without the Bel'Veth. You could play it with like almost any combination, but it's just kind of like a guideline to see like, oh, what threat units are good? What do they do? What to play in which scenario? So there's a bunch of different options there. But we list out some item holders because we have some good AD item holders in Wukong and Camille, and then some good AP item holders for Aurelion Soul. But the way that you play this, you just play strongest board. You just kind of play good TFT. I know that's very generic in a guide, but if you need a 3-cost carry to stabilize in stage 4-1, you need to roll a bit at level 7. If you want to aim more towards 4-cost carries, you want to roll at level 8. Do keep in mind, though, if you do get the augment threat level maximum, obviously you're more incentivized to have more threat units, but otherwise you just play random threat units and mix and match like other synergies that we talked about before to actually play the comp. But let's move on into the next comp. We have Camille Reroll. So again, lots of reroll comps. They may change this in the future because there is a ton of them, but Camille Reroll right now, she's going to be AD base, attack damage base, and we're going to pair her up with 3 Renegades, 2 Admin, 2 Brawler, and 2 Heart. So it's very similar to the other Renegade build where we had with Talon Reroll, but you do have to make a few adjustments with that in mind. In this comp, the only unit that really matters is Camille, so we'll just focus items on her. But looking down here, the way to play it is just regular 2-cost reroll. We go to level 6 and reroll at level 6. If you do need to stabilize, you could roll at 3-2. And then, like, let's say you are on 3-2, you level up to level 6, you're at 50 gold. Maybe you roll down to 30 gold to hit Camille 2, and then econ back up and reroll after that. I'm not saying always do that, but if you are super, super low health and the lobby's kind of strong, that's one thing to consider. The second most important unit is Lee Sin, because Lee Sin gives a good shield for Camille, so he's a very good support unit if you only care about one guy. So in this one, I guess Camille's a girl, but in this one, you only care about Camille, so Lee Sin's a great support unit for her, because he just will give her a shield every time. And this is because his ability shields the nearest ally. After that, you want to focus on items. So Bruiser and AD items on Camille. Titan's Resolve is probably my favorite one because she's going to survive the whole time and really make the most of it. If there's ever a unit that can fully stack Titan's Resolve, more often than not, it's going to be worth it on them. After that, healing is good if you don't have a healing augment, and then just 1 damage item. So it's like 1 Titan's Resolve, 1 healing item, and then 1 damage item. that's going to be your bread and butter for Camille. Next, for Lee Sin, you could do either tank items or aura items such as Chalice or Zeke's Herald. For hero augments, adaptive defenses is going to be the best option for Camille. But obviously, if you get a specific augment for like a carry champion, it's going to be obviously good. I don't know if I need to like mention that in the future, but it's good just to write it out for now. Next build up we have is Vayne. So Vayne is very interesting because you can go for her 3-star, you could go for her 2-star, and it's actually going to be just fine. They actually have not had a lot of 3-cost 2-star carries in TFT. I believe it has not happened since set 2, or maybe set 3 when Cybernetic Vayne was a thing. I think that was 3.5 actually. But apart from that, like, I don't really think there have been too many 3-cost 2-star carries. So maybe they're going to be back in fashion now. I really do hope so because I like having that option of like a good top 4 comp. I feel like top 4 comps don't really exist as much anymore compared to in older sets. But feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. It's just an opinion I have. But in this build, we have a lot of different options. Vayne is super flexible. You could do 3 or 5 Anima Squad. I'm probably going to be playing a lot of Anima Squad because that's the bunny trait. They added a bunny trait in this set, so we have to definitely pay attention to that. The build's going to be complemented by like a tank set. Set is kind of like the Pantheon of set 8. So set 7 Pantheon, set 8 set, kind of the same thing. They're the 4-cost bruiser tank, so they do a little bit of damage and they're tanky. So like you literally build the same items on set as you would on Pantheon. So he's got the Bloodthirster, he's got the Titan's Resolve, he's got the Warmogs. It's like, yeah, they're the same thing. After that for Vayne, you just want pure AD items. So that's really all there is to it. There's not too much to elaborate on there. Vayne likes attack damage. Who would have thought? Good item holders for her are going to be Ashe, Kayle, and Sivir. Ashe and Kayle being the 1-cost and Sivir being the 2-costs. But there are a ton of variations. You could do 3 or 5 Anima Squad, as we mentioned before, and that's for building stacks for Vayne. Frontline, you could play mech or you could choose other stuff. And then you could also do some wild builds with 8 Duelist Vayne. Feel free to experiment, guys. This is PBE. I'm going to have a lot of people in the comments being like, oh, I actually like this champion more. This guide sucked. It's PBE. Just go ahead and experiment. At the end of the day, it's a video game. It's all about having fun. And this is even the unranked portion of a video game. So really just go out there and try out these comps because there are going to be a lot of interactions that other people are going to be finding that are going to be great. But these are just like baselines to kind of just go off of as you play. So just always keep that in mind whenever you're reading any guide, not just mine, but other people's as well. And then down here, we give like a brief summary about the hero augments. Oh, and if in case you guys are wondering, the site for the PBE guides are going to be bunnymuffins.lol/PBE. So that's going to be different from the /meta. But once set 8 comes out, it'll be all on the /meta page. But now onto Soraka admin. So we finally got a 4-cost carry. It took a while, but we have one here. We're going to complement her with 4 admin, a couple threats, brawler, heart, and spellslinger. So Sejuani's going to be the main tank, Soraka's going to be the main damage dealer. And Soraka's interesting because she both does healing and damage, but I've seen her do a lot of bursts, so it's very deceptive because I believe her ability works that every 3 casts she gets like a mega cast or something like that, and it just does a lot more. But this is going to be classic 4-cost AP carry. We have not played that in a very long time because 4-cost AP carries did not exist in set 7.5. Down here, we go over some potential early games you could try, such as Lulu, Lux, and Gadgetines or Star Guardians, and then pivoting into Soraka at level 7 or 8 once you hit Soraka. And after that, we mentioned you do need to have a good front line for Soraka because she needs to get 3 casts off. So in like a stall type of game, she's potentially pretty good. And then for some items, we have some suggestions down here as well. The core, though, is pretty much just for admin, and you could mix and splash a bunch of other units because obviously we're playing threats such as Zac and Fiddlesticks, so a lot of different options there. Mana regeneration augments are really good, and then also healing is pretty nice. Onto the next build, we have Gangplank Super, so this is Superman Gangplank, and this is like the reroll build of the century because anything with supers, you're going to be wanting to reroll a ton. We also added some late game additions in this build, as you guys can see here. So Janna and Sona, they're going to be your level 7 and level 8 additions, but don't worry too much about them quite yet if you are just in the reroll phase. But we're going to pretty much be doing 3 supers. We're going to be surrounding our Janna, and then we have a lot of splash synergies. So I mentioned this before, there are a lot of splash traits in set 8, and this is one key example. Like, look at how many traits we're running. It's actually nuts. But the way to play this comp, you just re-roll for 1 cost, and then the one difference is you only have one cost you care about, so you don't really want to 3-star other stuff. But once you get the Gangplank 3, you obviously just power level up and go from there. One thing to note, you don't need that many duelists with Gangplank. You really just need 2 duelists. So instead of running 4 or 6 duelists, you'd rather just run other stuff such as all the splash synergies you see here. So that's just one thing to note. Items for Gangplank, blue buff, obviously really good, so he casts a bunch. 1 healing item, and then like Titans is nice. Or like Bloodthirster kind of does healing and gives a shield. And then if you can't get those exact items, maybe just add in a random damage item such as Rabadon's or Giant Slayer. But pretty much just a standard super build with Gangplank carry. Onto the next build, we have Zoe Reroll. This is going to be the last comp that we're going to go over today. So Zoe is going to be the classic Morello blue buff user. So if you played Cassiopeia in, I believe, set 3.5, she's going to be very, very similar to that. She just casts very often, applies Morello to everyone, but you do also have to keep in mind, Morello did get adjusted a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit different power level in this set. After that, you want Echo as your main carry, and then you complement Zoe with Hacker, Prankster, because that's what she both is, and you're going to be set from there. If you haven't noticed yet, we have a lot of tanks. We have 4 tanks up front, and the reason why is because we just need to buy time for Zoe to get her Morello tick damage. So that's why you want to kind of be a stall comp whenever you do this. Let's get into how to play this. You start off the game with a Gadgettine Defender build. So Poppy, Lulu, Annie, Wukong is kind of going to be good. Lulu is going to carry all your Zoe items because Lulu is like an early AP item holder. And then at level 6, you can play Star Guardian, Spellslinger, and then play Strongest Board until level 7, where you look to get Echo and Zoe. So at level 7, that's going to be a key decision point. During that time, you have to decide whether you're going to go for Zoe 3-star or just level up and just play a Zoe 2-star. So it's very similar to the Seraphine Graves build of the past, where you're like, oh, I'm level 7, I only have 3 Seraphines, and it's getting kind of late in the game. Maybe I can't find a Seraphine 3-star. Let me just level up instead and add in random good units. So that would be something to decide on. So that's going to be the same exact decision that you're going to need to make in this comp, because you're like, hey, I got a Zoe. Maybe I have 6 Zoes at level 7. Oh, if that's the case, let me go ahead and re-roll for Zoe 3-star. Or it's like early in the game, you have great econ. Maybe you have a champion duplicator on your bench. Oh, maybe let's go for Zoe 3-star. So those are going to be kind of the things that help guide that decision making, but obviously every game's going to be a little different. Similar to Seraphine, she also likes Morello. Obviously, that's where the build is kind of built off of, as well as the Archangels, because again, you're a stall comp at the end of the day. We have all the other item recommendations down here, and then we have the core listed out here, and then some augments that you want to add and like which ones are good for different situations. But that's going to be it from us today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Of course, don't forget to check out our sponsor, Macarena. Link is in the description below. Let me know your thoughts down below about what comps you want to see. Obviously, this is not a complete list. We want to just have comps for you to try, and then once the new set does come out eventually, we'll do a full-blown tier list. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all later.